Hello, welcome to the Unbound Digital SharePoint Basic Training. In this video, we're going to go over the basics of how SharePoint works, how we can sync a SharePoint site, and how we can move data to SharePoint in a couple different ways. So first, start off, SharePoint is used as a cloud-based file storage system that supports collaboration across your organization. SharePoint is preferred to use over OneDrive whenever you're working on files that multiple people need access to. To begin, make sure online that you're logged in to portal.office.com. The UI may change, but it should still look pretty similar. Once you're here logged on, you'll want to either access SharePoint by an email invitation, or in this case, a URL for the SharePoint site. In this case, I was granted a SharePoint site that we can go to. All you'll need to do if you have the URL is type it in or paste it in here to your address bar. Once on the SharePoint site, you'll want to first go over to Documents. Currently, there's not much here on the SharePoint site. We'll change that here in just a moment. It's important to note too, for later on, you'll want to make sure that you start to follow the SharePoint site. By default, it should show up gray here with a click of a follow. Once you've clicked following, this will show up later. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can add documents here to SharePoint. The first way, if you want to add an online collaborative document, click here on New. Then from there, you can either make folders, Word documents, Excel workbooks, PowerPoint presentations, a OneNote notebook, form surveys, a Visio drawing, and many other options. In this case, let's make a folder. From here, you can choose the color of the folder and how it will show up and give it a name. In this case, let's give it the name of test. We'll give it the color blue. Now you can see this SharePoint site folder with the name of test. We click in here, there's still nothing inside of it. Let's go ahead and try to upload some other documents. If you click here on New, we'll make a Word document. By default, this will open up in a new tab, and it'll give you the name document. Let's give it a little bit of data. From here too, you can also change what you'd like these documents to be. Now, if we close out of here, you should start to see, once you refresh the page, the document name will show up. On from here, in the more advanced parts of SharePoint, you'll want to make sure first that you have OneDrive installed. OneDrive is a free app, of course, that you'll have with Office 365. Once you've had OneDrive installed and signed in, you can first go over to sync. Now, before we start syncing, you'll want to first start at the parent or the top of the directory here before you sync. This is done in order to make sure you avoid any type of issues. Before we hit sync though, let's look over here. Currently, you can see I have OneDrive set up. I'm signed in. However, that's pretty much it. I just have access to OneDrive. Once you hit sync to the SharePoint site, you'll get this pop-up here. For Open Microsoft OneDrive, the OneDrive site wants to open this application. You can click on check to always allow, or in this case, we'll just click Open OneDrive. And you'll get this message saying, we're syncing your files. You may get a small pop-up there for OneDrive if you aren't already logged in to log in at this point. Once you have this message, it's okay to go ahead and close this out. And now, if we go back to File Explorer, you'll start to see something different. Over here, you'll see this little blue building icon here. This is a list of all SharePoint sites that you currently have, at least any ones that you're currently syncing. By default, you may see just the name of it. You'll also see the status of the document. In this case, there's not much in here, but there's a couple of different ways that we can upload and share information onto SharePoint. It's important to know first, before we continue, that you'll always want to sync the main folder in order to avoid having sync conflicts. If you go through and try to sync a subfolder, such as this test document folder, you will cause issues, and anything above it, for example, write anything in the documents folder, will not show up, or at least will not sync. It's important to also note that whenever you sync a SharePoint site, that is based off of your own computer that you're logged in with. If you're working in a business environment and switching between computers, your synced SharePoint sites will not show up automatically. You will need to go ahead and repeat the process in order to sync the SharePoint site. Now, in order to upload data over to SharePoint, there's a couple ways to do it. One way that you can do it is when you're on SharePoint Online, click on the Upload button. You can choose Files, Folders, or Templates. This method works pretty well for any small documents or folders. Anything with a lot of subfolders, smaller document, or a ton of smaller documents, or large size documents, this method may not be the best for you. But in this case, if we go, let's say we want to upload a single file. Once you've got the document, go ahead and select Open, and that will upload the file onto here. The next step that you can do is you can upload by using any local data that you have on your computer from File Explorer. For example, this folder that we have, or this file that we have here, we want to upload over to SharePoint. We can either copy the file, go over to your SharePoint list by first going over here into the document folder, and then pasting. Once you've pasted, you should start to see the file upload. After a few minutes, the file should show up on SharePoint. Now, the final method to upload data over to SharePoint is if you already have files located in your OneDrive. Let's go ahead and see if we can access that. First, go online to our OneDrive. Click on Apps, OneDrive. From there, let's say I want to move either this folder over to our SharePoint site. Let's first select the folder or the files. And there are a couple of options here to make note of. First, there's Move To and Copy To. These both have similar but different functionality. If you click Copy To, what it will do is it will take a one-to-one copy of your data and move it to wherever your destination is, and it'll keep it in the original location. If you click Move To, however, all the data will be moved to your destination. However, it'll also be deleted from the original location. So in this case, let's do a Move To. Now, it's important to note that earlier back, you need to make sure that following has been on for a while. If not, you won't be able to see these options until you've done so, and given it at least about 15 minutes plus. Back here, let's click on Move To. In your quick access, click on More Places, where you should start to see here in your recent files. You can choose which folder you want to upload this to. Let's say I want to upload this to the subfolder here called Test. Then click Move Here. Once you've done so, you'll get this prompt here saying that your item's being moved. Make sure to keep your window open up here. And in this case with Move To, the files and folders were deleted here from this original folder on my OneDrive. If we go back here to the SharePoint site, go into Test, we'll see this folder here called SharePoint Test, including the document inside of it, was moved. This concludes the basic SharePoint training for all Unbound Digital clients. If you have any questions, please contact us at 423-467-7777 or email us at support@unbounddigital.net. Thank you.